Scott Smith. And as you can tell, I get a fancy new background today. And I'm in the control room at the stadium, which is very cool. We have something going on at the stadium later, so I figured it'd be easier to just go ahead and head on over here and a little bit of a sneak peek on maybe what Insider is going to look like moving forward. I mean, I know this is what people live for, right? Is news about the program that brings them the news. But yes, so soon Scott and I will be doing our show from in here. It's going to be awesome. For now, of course, this is where we take all of your questions, thoughts, comments, all of the things. If you're not already watching on the Buccaneers Facebook page, you can head on over there, and that is where I will find them, is in the comment section underneath our live videos. As we give people a chance to start leaving them there, I figured we would talk about some of the upcoming things on the schedule this time of year. I know it can seem like there's not a lot going on, but thankfully we have a couple things already in progress. Where tell us a little bit about the franchise tag deadlines.
Yeah, the franchise tag window, the window for putting franchise or transition tags on your players, actually opened yesterday, which was Tuesday. Did you notice that yesterday? 2/22/22.
Tuesday, yes.
Tuesday. So it was already a big day for any of us who like that kind of thing. But then it's the beginning of the franchise tag window, though. Honestly, they probably just should say when the franchise tag deadline is, because teams generally wait till the very end of it anyway, just in case something happens that's relevant. There's no rush to put the tag on right now. They can't become a free agent until like 8 days after the franchise tag window. So I don't think you're going to see a ton of activity on that until you get much closer to the March 8th deadline. But you might start seeing some teams using those tags at this point, and the Bucs could be one of them.
Right. And so tell people a little bit again about who we think has a chance of it being used on, who even qualifies for that, and just a little bit more about how that works.
Well, there's 3 types of tags you can use. There's an exclusive franchise tag, and there's a non-exclusive franchise tag. And as those names suggest, one of them, the exclusive one, means nobody else can negotiate with this player. And the non-exclusive one says other teams can negotiate with the player. And the reason you would choose non-exclusive over exclusive is because the formula for figuring out the 1-year salary comes out a little bit lower, because it's like the average of the top 10 guys at the position rather than top 5. It's more complicated than that, but that's the basic idea. If you're on an exclusive tag and another team signs you to an offer, the home team has the team that owned that player originally. I don't mean owned. The team that had the contract with that player originally has the right to match. And if they don't match, they get compensation, and it's usually like 2 first-round draft picks. So even though it's a non-exclusive tag, you almost never see those players go to other teams. And then the transition tag is like the non-exclusive tag, except you don't get any compensation if you don't match. So it's just a matter of how much do you want to commit to the salary and how much protection that gives you for keeping that player. And as we talked about when we discussed this idea last week, to me, the most likely one on the Bucs' long list of free agents is cornerback Carlton Davis. It's just hard to let a 25-year-old potential shutdown cornerback go, and that's a really hard thing to develop in the NFL. And so I know the Buccaneers will try to keep Carlton as much as they possibly can.
Okay. And then next on the schedule is the Combine. I know you and I are both going to be heading out there next week. You'll be there to hear Coach and Jason speak whenever they have their press conferences. And I'll be doing some interviews with some of our scouting department and other front office people. So make sure everybody stays tuned for all the coverage on that on Buccaneers.com. But tell us a little bit about the Combine after not having it last year, what we thought it might look like this year, what we think it is going to look like, and how that could potentially affect being able to find some of these players as compared to years like last year where it didn't exist.
Well, first of all, a little more on what you're talking about what we're going to be doing up there. We are also on Buccaneers.com going to carry the Bruce Arians and Jason Light press conferences from the podiums live. So you can watch that. I'll be there covering it and tweeting about it. Those 2 guys generally also do an off-camera session, just a little roundtable with any Buccaneers writers that are there. So there's even more to get from that, and I'll be reporting on that as well. And then we'll have our show from there on Wednesday morning, right?
Yep, absolutely. So that's going to be great. But yeah, so I know there was some interesting news about the Combine itself recently.
Yeah, the NFL had announced that the players were going to be in a bubble, a pretty restrictive bubble while they were there. And for obvious reasons, you know what the motivation for that was. But I think the part that really a lot of the players and their agents didn't like was they would have been restricted to one support person. So they only have one, say, trainer, and some of them have a number of trainers and others that are there to help them with the medical side of it, with getting ready for their workouts and optimizing their workouts. And so I think around 150 or so prospects protested, and there was the possibility of them not coming. And the NFL has since decided to scrap the bubble idea, and it'll be more like a regular combine. And so it looks like all 330 or so prospects are going to be there. So, as always, the combine is a great opportunity, even though these guys are very well scouted by scouts and coaches around the league and here in this building through their game tape. It's a real good opportunity for the entire league to be in one spot and for teams to be able to get a whole lot of one-on-one interviews with these players. Last year, those interviews had to be done by Zoom. And as Jason Light has said, they did a great job of making it work. But clearly, this is a better opportunity for both the players and the personnel people in the league. So getting everybody in the same spot and getting those meetings is probably the part that teams missed last year that they're going to enjoy this year.
Okay. And then getting to some of our questions from the Facebook page, Yaj asked, how do you see the backfield shaping up? Who do you see staying? Who do you see leaving?
Offensive backfield, I assume that means?
Yes.
So the only two guys that are under contract right now are Keyshawn Vaughn and Kenyon Barner. Keyshawn Vaughn, I would assume he would stay and maybe get a chance at a bigger role. Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones and Giovanni Bernard as well. But Fournette and Jones, who went into last season sort of listed as 1A, 1B as starters, they're both unrestricted free agents. I would be shocked if we got both of them back. I think the Buccaneers would probably love to get one of them back. Leonard Fournette obviously took over as the main back. He was so great in the playoffs on the way to the Super Bowl. And then even though at the beginning of last year, Bruce Arians was calling Fournette and Jones starters 1A and 1B, basically, it didn't take Fournette long to really take over that role. And the fact that he's a decent pass catcher, or high volume pass catcher, really out of the backfield, and his blocking has improved means you could put him on the field for 3 downs. And I think that's why probably he was the guy that really grabbed that biggest part of the role. So I would think he'd be a guy the Buccaneers would like to have back. But after playing on 2 consecutive one-year deals, he might be looking for something a little bit more long-term.
Okay. And our next one is from Jonathan. He asked, do you think Gronk will stay with the Bucs? And then I'll kind of add to that of just in general, what do you think that tight end room could look like? And I mean, for years, it's been something that the Bucs have not needed to look at in the draft and free agency. It was one of the most set rooms there were. What do you think it could look like this year? Some of the changes that could be made. And do you think Gronk will be a part of it?
Rob Gronkowski decided to come back after his 1 year of retirement. I'm sure part of that was because he felt better. He originally retired basically just because of an accumulation of injuries and aches and pains. And after a year off, he felt better, but I'm not sure he would have come out of retirement if it hadn't been to play with Tom Brady. And now that Tom Brady has said he won't be playing, I think to me, that's a domino in the direction of Rob Gronkowski not coming back. Now, I hope that's not the case because yes, he has a special connection with Tom Brady, but he could still be a very, very valuable piece of the offense with any quarterback we had out there. So I just thought when Tom Brady retired that would be, if you were nudging Rob Gronkowski in one direction or another, that would seem to nudge him more towards not coming back.
And then
Hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, right. I agree. Cord had brought up the free agents on the defensive line and what that group could potentially look like this next year.
Okay, so the free agents are Ndamukong Suh, and if I guess we're probably counting the edge rushers as part of that. So JPP,
right?
Ndamukong Suh, Will Golston, Steve McClendon. Oh, I do have a list over there. Steve McClendon. I think that's it. Patrick O'Connor's a restricted free agent. Oh, Ndamukong Suh. Did I say that one?
Yes. Yeah.
Again, is the Ndamukong Suh part is he's been playing on 1 year contracts for a number of years now, which has always led me to believe that he is contemplating each offseason if he wants to continue his career. He's already played 12 seasons and he never misses a game. And for most of his career has played a huge number of snaps. So this is a guy that's played a lot of football, still very effective for us the last couple of years, obviously. But I think that all comes down to him. It's pretty obvious from hearing Will Golston talk that he loves being in Tampa, that he really likes his fit here with this team, and especially in this defense. His career has really been rejuvenated, I think, over the last 3 years because he's been such a perfect fit in Todd Bowles' defense. So, assuming that they can make that price work, I would think he'd want to come back. He's already played 2 full contracts, which is pretty awesome, especially for a 4th round pick. And then you're talking about, Steve McClendon, JPP. JPP may have a lot to do with how he feels. And I don't know. I really can't speak much to what Steve McClendon's plans might be.
Okay, well, that is going to do it for us on this edition of Buccaneers Insider Live presented by Miller Lite. Thanks as always for those amazing questions. And we will see you next week from the Combine in Indianapolis. So make sure you tune in.